Hey, how everybody, this is FIDE Master Charles Galofre welcoming you to this video on the Scotch opening. So, on this video I'm going to show you theoretically how you get to the Scotch, and then I'll show you a little bit of theory. So let's get started. After e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, this is the mother position of the Scotch opening. And what could we say about the opening? Well, basically, Garry Kasparov, who is considered to be by many the best player that has ever played chess, he has said that the Scotch is the only real alternative to the Ruy Lopez to gain an advantage as white. So, with that said, black typically plays pawn takes d4, knight takes d4. Now, the main move is knight f6, but black has some alternatives. Bishop c5 is one, bishop b4 is one, and queen to h4 is the other one. So let's go ahead and start off with queen to h4. This is probably the worst of the alternatives. This is a hyper-aggressive way of playing. It was developed by William Steinitz, but okay, here we typically play knight c3, bishop b4, bishop e2, and here black has two variations. He could capture on c3, after which white just castles, and white has enough compensation. What's going to happen in this game, and you're going to see it over and over and over again in all these games with this position, is that white is going to have the initiative for the rest of the game, and black is going to play passively until either white makes a mistake in his attack or white crushes black in either the dark squares or as a result of the king being misplaced. So going back, alternatively there is queen takes c4, after which we play knight to b5. And here there are two moves. There's queen takes g2 and there's bishop takes c3. If bishop c3, then simply pawn takes. And after king d8, we castle. And once again, we have the initiative for the rest of the game. Otherwise, if queen g2, then bishop f3. And after queen h3, knight c7, we're completely winning. So going back to this position, the other move is bishop to b4 check. After bishop to b4 check, this is a move that was developed by Anthony Miles. The idea is to provoke the pawn to go to c3, after which the bishop should go to c5. There are alternatives, bishop a5 and bishop e7, but these are both mistakes. If bishop e7, then all we have to remember is that after bishop d3, knight f6, bishop d3, knight f6, castles, white plays bishop to f4, and this position is better for white because after d6, notice that d5 can't be played. After d6, our bishop on d3 is better placed than the bishop on e7, and as a result, we have the advantage. So going back, another alternative here is bishop to a5, and here we simply play knight c6, pawn c6, and a4, and white is going to gain the initiative on the queen side by attacking the bishop on a5. So going back, if instead in this position black plays bishop to c5, then we play bishop to e3, and black usually plays queen f6, and here you could play the positional c3, which is very interesting, or you could be adventurous and play knight to b5, threatening the pawn on c7. And the only bad thing is that there is a health concern here, and that's that our pawn structure is completely wrecked. But after queen takes e4, knight c7, knight takes a8, queen takes h1, the position is basically completely chaotic, and the player that's better prepared is going to be the one that typically wins the game. So if you like this position, or if you like the Scotch opening, you can study this carefully and you should outplay your opponents. So going back, that leaves us only with the main alternative, which is knight to f6. And here, after knight takes c6, pawn takes c6, what does white have? What does black have? Black has absolute free development for his pieces and dynamic possibilities. He has an open e file, open b file, squares for his pieces. He's doing okay. White has the better structure. With that said, if black develops an initiative, white should be inferior. But if white is capable of developing his pieces, he should be better because he has the better structure. So let's see how that pans out. Typically white plays e5 here, black will play queen e7, queen e2, now knight to d5. Here white usually plays c4, and now it's a question about whether or not the bishop or the knight should be misplaced. Sometimes they play knight b6, other times they play bishop a6. Typically bishop a6 is played. We play b3, And now black has two ways of playing. He could play g6 or g5. If g6, white usually plays f4, and the plan is to play queen to f2, bishop to a3, and typically he gets a better game. So as a result, black started playing g5, and white would continue with g3, and we enter a variation where basically we play an endgame where there is equal chances for both sides, but needless to say, it's one of those positions where if you have more experience in it, you should be able to score a full point, given the fact that it's completely unbalanced.